Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. My name is Rose Joshua. Welcome to Family and Finance. And today I have special guests. They're going to talk about themselves. They are my friends, my mentors. It took me a while to get this appointment, so I value this so much, very much. They're very private people. They don't like to kind of be out there. So it took a while before they agreed to do this interview with me today. So Glen, Cristina, Noah, and Mary Elliott, thank you for being here and welcome to my show.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I think what we're gonna do first is, I know that Noah and Mary have to go because they have stuff to do. But they basically wanted to come in and say hello to us, and then we can talk about them later. We'll gossip about them later. How's that? So Noah, how are you, dear?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 15.
15. Teenager. You
Oh,
loving
yeah.
the teenage years? Yeah. Awesome.
Gonna end
And
soon.
what grade are you in?
Oh, I just ended grade 9, so I'm headed into grade 10.
High school. Cool. Awesome. And so what do you want to be when you grow up? One more question.
I'm still thinking. The hope is
Okay.
aeronautical engineer, but we'll see.
Aeronautical engineer. I am loving it. Loving it. Awesome.
And what do you want to do with that? Like ultimately, what do you want to do with your engineering?
I don't.
You want to go to the moon? That's it?
Go to the moon? Okay.
Go in
You
space
know
at
what?
the very least.
Space, NASA, here we come. That's cool. I love it. You know what? I feel very, very highly privileged to see a potential future NASA astronaut. Yay! Thank you. Mary, beautiful, beautiful princess. How old are you, honey?
7.
7. Nice. Well, Glen and Cristina, you nicely spaced them, 7 and 15. That's good. So Noah is a true big brother. Yeah. True big brother. And Mary can be a truly sometimes annoying little sister. That's okay. I have a big brother and I was very annoying to my big brother. That was my job, was to annoy him. Okay, so Mary, what? You're 7, so you're in grade 2?
I'm going to grade 2.
You're going to, yeah, grade 2, yes. You just finished grade 1. That's good. Awesome. Okay, so I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for stopping by to say hi to me. I love you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Noah. Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
It's a busy
they
for them. It's summer. So they have schedules all the time.
They have schedules.
I'm a doctor when I grow up.
Oh, yes. You know what? Come. I forgot to ask her. I know she was expecting. Sorry about that. Mary, come. You want to be a what? Tell us again.
Doctor.
A doctor. Dr. Mary. I like the sound of that. Wonderful. So that means you're going to need to work really hard. And so why do you want to be a doctor?
Because I want to help people.
Wonderful. That's it. That's all we need. Want to help people. That is good. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to be looking out for you, Dr. Mary. She's adorable. I like the fact that she held me accountable for that question. I know when I asked her big brother, she was expecting me to ask her the same thing. So I'm happy that she held me accountable for that. That is good assertiveness. I like that. Good job, Mom and Dad. Awesome. So, okay, so let's talk. Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, can you please talk about yourselves? Tell us what you do and whatever you want my audience out there to know about you.
Okay, you want to start?
No, I think you should start.
Okay, so in our family, I begin, but my wife will have the last word. Okay, that's how we start. So both of us, we've been married now for 17 years, coming up 18 in December 31. We came from a tropical country called the Philippines. We moved here about 12 years ago in Canada, and our background used to be in the bank. That's where we met. We met actually in a vacation, and then from there we decided to move to Canada. And one of the reasons you mentioned about the gap of our kids is that we want to have 5 kids. But we realized that, maybe the job is stressful. So we thought that the winter of Canada will help us have more kids. So it took us 7 years, 8 years before we had the second one. So, but we're fortunate to have Noah. He was almost 3 when we came here. And then after a few years, we have Mary. We wanted to have more. We'll see. It's in God's hands. But we're very fortunate to be here. And our background, so when I came here, I was in accounting. Cristina was in education. And what happened was that we were always on the lookout for a career that allows us to be parents first, I guess. And then for me, also very much involved in our faith. And it took us a while. We used to own a coffee shop. We sold it. And then finally, a good friend of mine said that, Glenn, this is probably something you can look at. I did apply for other banks. I almost got licensed another firm, but eventually I became a financial advisor here. And it's been good because it's been a good 6 years. And my start date was September 1. We had Mary at that time already, right? She was a few months. But the reason we chose that date is that that's the day that Noah started in school. And the reason why we went into this business career is that we want to have the flexibility of time to be with our kids. So we dropped him off at school that day. I went to my first day in our office as brokers, and it's been a happy journey since then. So
Definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. Go ahead, Christina. The ice cream and the cake.
Well, Glenn said it all. The reason why we came to Canada is because we wanted to have a better quality of life. I think that's it's not that we weren't doing well back home. We were, right? But we just wanted to be able to give our kids the future that, a globally acknowledged education that we didn't have, right? Because when we came here, like most immigrants, we had to upgrade on our credentials, right? And we wanted our kids not to have that challenges that we did, right? To better future.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. So you were in banking. So like you said, you had a good life, great life in the Philippines. And so back here, 17 years, no, 12 years.
12 years, so 2011 when we came.
Yeah, 12 years in Canada. And it's very interesting what you said about, the winter helping us to make more kids. I guess,
Definitely a joke.
I guess the theory, you probably proved that the theory is not necessarily so. That's cool. But yeah, tell me, so you came to give your children valuable, like quality lives. So I know that one of your passions is really then to establish a strong financial foundation for your children. So as they're growing, let's kind of focus on that. What are you teaching them about money? How are you trying to establish that future generation of wealth for them?
And maybe we can start with background first. So growing up, because I think the way we teach our kids came also from our life experiences too, right? So for me, growing up, we're 6 in the family, 3 boys, 3 girls, single income. So my dad is in the military, and you could see that, money is tight, right? So we went through school because of scholarship, and we were fortunate with that. So for me, growing up, it's really managing the meager resources we have. So when I work at the bank, I remember that my first salary at the bank was even higher than my dad's salary. And I can't imagine how we survive as a family. So I think through God's blessing, right? On the flip side, Cristina, on the other hand.
So I had a different upbringing from Glenn. Come from a middle class family where our education was paid for by my parents. There was no, when I was growing up, all I had to do was focus on finishing my studies and doing well,
Yeah.
like good grades, like a typical, I guess, Asian
Mhm.
family, right? And so having different backgrounds, you can understand the challenge now that when we got married and started having our own family, right? Our
Mhm.
backgrounds have a way of dictating
Mhm.
our beliefs, right? And
Yes.
our habits on, especially our spending habits.
Mhm.
Yes. Spending habits.
That's
Mm.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
And I could add also, so Christina probably is very gracious, but I could say they're upper middle class, right? And there is that the dad is a pilot, the mom is a dentist, nurse. So when we
Ah.
met, it's like night and day,
Oh.
like heaven and earth. We call it.
A love story.
No, it's a love story part of it.
Well, so that means Glenn, good for you. You married up.
Yeah. And then she also did marry up. Okay.
That's cool. That's
So
cool.
the reason I
That's
bring it
sweet.
up is that the way we look at finances is really different. So
Mhm.
when we met, there's no budget. For her, sky's the limit, right? Because the family could afford it. But for me, when we go on dates, I remember we were even thinking about, because I look at it, I said, oh, we spend too much on something, right? So I did a 20 peso, which is I think 50 cents, maybe
50 cents,
50
yeah.
cent date. I
50
said,
Canadian.
let's have a challenge, right? And then the other thing also that
Serious?
yeah,
That's
it was fun.
cool.
Yeah, and she was the one when we met. I don't have a car. She drives a car, so I'm the one being picked out. So it's a total different. But that's where I knew that she loved me because
Yes.
without anything, yeah. So that's a proof of love. So now that we have kids, we make sure that we get the best of both worlds. We made sure that they have the basics of finance. So one thing we learned about finance is that you need to know exactly what your goals are, because I think
Yes.
having financial goals and knowing where you're at, the journey towards it will be the most crucial part. Because if you don't know those two things, those 2 points, then you could go anywhere, right? You could have too
Yes.
too much money. And I think for us, one of the reasons why we came here, we mentioned about having more kids, but we got to a point in our marriage. We were married for about 5 years at the time. Finance is never an issue for us. We didn't fight at all, and I think that's the part that it felt uncomfortable. Like there's no, we call it healthy tension in marriage. We
Mm.
part of the marriage preparation, and we say that storms will come, arguments are part of it, and the fact that we didn't fight for me is a indication that either we're not talking about real stuff, or we might fall out of love later on. Like it's not good. And I said,
Mhm.
maybe when she was approved to go to Canada, and I said probably that's one area we can start a new life, and it's going to be a step up for both of us, but it will also challenge us uh,
Mhm.
as a family, as a marriage, in a good way. Okay, so I
Mhm.
don't mean that to be challenging just to make life miserable, but at least challenge to be better all the time.
I think you're missing a third option,
Which
that's
is
really compatible.
yeah.
I love the chemistry between you guys. Like, you guys, yeah, I like what you just said. You're just really compatible. And so
Mhm.
you're able to blend well. I know that, Christina is shy, quite reserved. And so, Glenn, you do most of the talking, you pull her out, which is good. I like I like the
Yeah.
way she's looking at you right now. I can see the love in her eyes.
But back in the Philippines is the opposite. So she's the more
Ah,
she has more friends than me. We got married. I think
ah.
it's 25% of the guests are from my end, and she has the majority of it.
You
So
know, I think we just have like we go through certain seasons in
yes,
life, right?
that's right.
And this
Yeah.
is your
Yes.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah. And it's part of my role. That's why I have to go out to my shell, and then in the financial industry, we need to be out there, right? Educating
Yes.
about it.
No,
So.
but going back to your question about how we do it with our children, I think
Yes.
the biggest strategy that we use is by setting an example, right?
Mhm.
We share with them our spending strategies, like we want them to know the difference between a want and a need, right? And even if it is a need, we don't give in to impulsive
Mhm.
buying. Like Glenn is very big on telling Noah, okay, let's make a list.
Mhm.
Do you really need it, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Because savings is always top of mind for us, right? Because
Mhm.
when we were growing up, like for me, I didn't have to worry about money, and therefore I struggled with this concept of saving, right? Another thing that I think really important for us is that we involve them in our spending decisions, especially if it pertains to them. Like for example,
Right.
just recently with summer, right? With the summer camps.
Mhm.
When they were younger, we would pick the camps for them, what we think would help them later on, or encourage their interest. Now we're like, okay, Noah, you want to go into golf camp, right? Let's look at the pros and cons and how much it costs, right? Because
Right.
camp costs money, and it's important to them to understand that how we are earning money, right? How many
Yes.
hours a day it will take us, right? Right, Glenn? You were just
Yes, that's right.
explaining this concept to our children, right? Just getting them involved in day to day. There's no financial 101 courses that we teach them. It's just living our day to day and making them involved in making them involved and realize, right, that everything that we do
Yes.
Has a purpose.
has a
Yeah,
purpose,
so,
right, and has a cost involved as well. And
Yes.
also, finally, and we always remind them about the concept of giving back, right? Because we've been
Giving
given
back.
so much blessings, right? It's always important that whenever they receive money, there is a portion that we give back either to the church or to a cause that they're very passionate about.
Right. So they're already into philanthropy and charitable giving right now. So that's amazing. That's an amazing foundation.
It doesn't have to be giving money.
Right.
It
Also
could be giving
time,
time. So
right?
for
So-
example,
Yes.
they walk our neighbor's dog for free, right? So they do chores for free. So Noah today clean our car, and there's no expectation, okay, you get paid for this, right?
Yeah. So we do it out of love. I always tell our children that we do things out of love. And then
Okay.
sometimes also we ask them what they're passionate about, what their gifts are that they can give back. Like Noah he's a reader. Like he loves to read. And so I said, okay, so how can we use this gift of yours to help back? And so he's actually a reading buddy in the Edmonton Public Library. So he gives up at least
Wow.
time
Wow.
helping a younger child to, instill in him the excitement that he gets out of reading from books.
Yes. So he's reading, he's helping somebody, he's volunteering, and that is such an amazing way to build up a strong young man. I applaud you. I applaud you for that. And they do chores. And so are there any financial penalties for not doing things that you expect them to do? Like, how do you handle penalties? Like,
So it's more of, I think, the reward system, right? If you do it, then you'll get, for example, it's summer. So there are things that they like. So it could be reading more, staying up late. Mary's into puzzles. She just likes, having time with dad all the time. So, or playing some video games, Minecraft, for example. So we manage it in a way that, there's also rewards involved. Eating out is something that they're big on, spending time, family council meeting. And I think one of the things that I think we're fortunate is that I came from a corporate banking background or corporate management. So it's a reminder for us to pick up the kids, so probably we'll need to turn it off. That's summertime.
Pick up the kids.
And that's
Yes.
the fortunate thing about our business right now is that we have the ability to drop them off, pick them up, right? And those are
Yes.
to me, I consider precious time. But going back, but we have certain practices. So for example, one of the big things we do is once a year, we do a big family planning. We usually do it December 12th. And it's special because it's our before the year end and before the new year gathering. And for us, it's the Our Lady of Guadalupe. So we just sit down. We sometimes go to Tim Hortons and then what are the plans for the year? But we always review what happened last year. What are the priorities this year? We extend it beyond a few years. And then we identify key priorities. So for them, it could be activities they want to do, trips they want to go to. So for example, Noah is going a trip to Europe this year. So it
Nice.
allows us to share also as a family what the priorities are, right? And then on a weekly basis, we try to do this as regular. We do our family council meeting, and then that's where we review our plans. On
Wow.
a weekly basis, but we also add fun things. For example, we start with appreciation. What do you appreciate about each other for the week? So we get to hear firsthand from each one what they
Yes.
like and also what they like about themselves. And then we talk about the schedule and the priorities that we have, how to allocate resources, time, and money during that week.
And so in terms of punishment, it's not really a punishment, but we get to review what worked for us, right? And
Yes.
what we need to improve on.
Mhm.
And so
What needs improvement? Yeah.
Mhm.
but
Okay.
I guess with their daily responsibilities, we just rely on natural consequences, right? Like if they're not able to finish their checklist because they do have a schedule for the summer, and there's some priorities of things, things to do first before they do the either playing outside, watching TV, going to the park or whatever. So if they just don't do it, and then so they just lose time. And so in that sense, right,
They
gonna
sleep
wake
early.
up early.
Yeah.
They're gonna sleep earlier tonight, wake
And
up
then wake up
earlier
early.
tomorrow. Because,
That's
like, for example, the other day they wanted to make crepes for breakfast, but because they didn't wake up early enough, we didn't have enough time to make it. And so the following morning, they woke up at 6:30 now to make crepes. And so
Time to make it now. That's
Mhm.
cool.
So there's, I think, as a parent, we try to, and again, this is no means to, compare it with other parents, but for us, we knew our kids, we know what worked for them. And I think
Yes.
for, some people do maybe financial rewards or other things. So for us, we knew them enough that, it's different, and it's different for Noah, it's different for Mary as well.
that's true. Yes. So the two kids also have different ways of getting motivated to do this.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I really like the positive reinforcement strategy that you're using, because it's not like, I like how you said it, Christina. It's not that you're punishing anyone. It's just that, well, sweetie, if you don't do the dishes, then you don't get to watch TV. Okay, so whenever you finish the dishes, TV is available. So I like that. That's really good. So then they know that there's a reward at the end of the activity. That's really cool. That's really cool. And so I also like what you said about that annual plan that they do in December, because they have something to look forward to.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, Noah, so last December, Noah knew that he's gonna be going on this trip to Europe. And then mom and dad can say, Noah, in order for you to make this trip, this and this and this and this and this are these things that we expect you to do. So he does them because he wants the trip to Europe. That is cool. I really, really love that.
But honestly, Dr. Rose, it wasn't always like this. Like, I didn't want to do it at first. It was such a struggle because I wasn't a planner. I never had to I guess I never had to plan my whole year, much less the day, right? I had never had to plan a day, much less the whole year. And so it was such a struggle for me to do. But my husband is very persistent. He's like, he sees like, okay, we need to do this. We need to have that. And so now, but then I realized, Dr. Rose, if I wanted my children to be involved, right, we need to be both on board, right? It can't just be Glen driving the family. It has to be the both of us. And so this is
it's
ultimately
like
a
our
partnership, right?
during our honeymoon in Europe, right? So we rode this tandem bike, and I said, marriage is like a tandem bike, right? You can be a dead weight, or you can be an active, cyclist also, right? And I still remember the time we did our family planning. It was 2015, and at that time, so Christina was pregnant with Mary, and she came very excited to that meeting because one of those things that she wanted to do is that, Glen, can we plan that in the next 5 years I can stay with Mary? And I said, for sure, right? So, and then from there, we that's why I had to shift career and make sure that there's a career that allows us to fulfill that specific, objective of Cristina, and we made it happen. And Mary's now 7, right? And Cristina helps us in our business. She has, a very, very part-time career in education, but that allowed us in the first 5 years just to be focused on Mary.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's great. So, just having that plan to focus on your family, because family comes first. Thank you. You mentioned when you were introducing yourself, you mentioned marriage prep. I kind of want to talk about that for a bit. Tell me more about that marriage prep thing.
Okay, so when we got married, one of the things that we did that helped us is we call it the Discovery Weekend. So it's a 3-day session, and it was facilitated by experts in marriage, but at the same time, people who've been married, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 30 years. And it allowed us to go through a process wherein we're going to be given topics. So we were being equipped, right? Usually when you go to a career, you have 4, 5, 6 years of education, right? And then you get to your career, you retire at 65. But being married is a lifetime commitment. And I was surprised that, the preparation needed is much less. But at least the 3 days allowed me and Cristina to have a solid foundation. We talked about the big things. And then when we got married, it continued. So when we came and when we were married for about a year and a half, that's where we said we need to be involved. When we left the Philippines, we were giving talks on early marriage. And I still have the talk she said. We had so much fun talking about the first disagreement, what helped us, how we communicate. So when we came to Canada, we were looking for that. It took us about, I think, 5 years before we finally found something. Our parish priest went to me one day and said, "Glen, you'll be very good at marriage prep." And I said, "I need to talk to my wife."
Just Glen, right?
Yeah. And I talked to Cristina.
Glen and Cristina.
You and Cristina will be good at. But he talked to me first. Yeah. And then and for us, we were observing in the beginning, but what we realized is that it's a good way to prepare the society. My firm belief is that the family is a solid foundation of any society. If there's any cracks there, it will impact the entire society. So if we can make an improvement, right? So marriage preparation will equip them to hopefully, have them a solid foundation in terms of their marriage, build their family, and reduce the divorce rate of 50% in North America by teaching them the basics. And it's been many years now, and then it helped our marriage too by being involved in that, say, vocation ministry.
So, Dr. Rose, normally when you talk about marriage, it's all about planning for the wedding, right? And so, but nobody's talking about, so what happens after you say "I do"? Right? What happens after the wedding day is over?
Yes.
No, the couples prepare so much, like in terms of finances, their budgeting, right? Their support system, their friends who they want to be in the wedding, but nobody talks about, okay, so what happens after
the wedding?
And so this marriage preparation is supposed to start that conversation between the couple, right? On what to at least expect, at least for the first year or first 3-5 years of their married life. And the biggest thing that the key takeaway from that is it all boils down to communication. And so they don't communicate now before the wedding, before the marriage, right? Then you're not setting themselves up. They're not setting themselves up for success.
Correct. Yeah.
So from your experience, what are some of the pain points with respect to married couples and finance? Like, we know that divorce rate is high, and I know that money is a big part of it. So what are some of the pain points, and how can couples avoid minimize them? That's a big question, I know. But maybe if you can take a stab at it.
One of the things we observe is that beliefs around money, right? Like, for example, we talked about my background, her background. So when you get married, sometimes those beliefs clash. And there are many wrong beliefs about money. One of those is that, it's taboo. It's not a comfortable discussion to talk about money. That's why we facilitated that, we start, those getting married, we start to list down, right? All your assets, your liabilities, your budget. And you'll be surprised. There's a few that are just shocked with the kind of debt each one has coming into the marriage, right? So it's a good conversation. And then the other thing also is that priorities, right? One of the things that we realize is that that's why we do planning, is that we can't do everything, right? Me and Christina, we love to travel. Christina, especially, her family, right? So the dad is a pilot, the mom is a flight stewardess. Two brothers are still pilots, so it's a non-negotiable in our marriage. But it's
Gotta
very,
fly.
yeah, but at least facilitating that discussion, that what are our priorities, right? And then let's stick to it, right? And then, for example, I like planning because if she wants to go to another place, and I said, we agreed to go to place 1 and place 2. Okay, so which one do you want to prioritize, right? So because priority allows you to, one, allocate resources and time. And they said, where your heart is, that's where your treasure, right? So if you look at people's time and resources, you know exactly what their priorities will be. So I think those are the areas that we've seen. And then even just starting a simple budget, emergency fund, having mindset about savings. Most people will either be saver or spender. If one of them is a saver, it's good, right? Or both of them. But if both of them are spenders, that's a start of a disastrous marriage.
That's a disaster waiting to happen. Yeah.
And so teaching them about, and the nice thing about the marriage preparation is that we have real life couples, right? Talk about specific things that, real life issues. And then for them, they realize that, wow, that's what happens when you get married, right? After day one. And then, so we need to prepare for it so that when it happens, usually that's what we said is that you may not experience them, right? But the fact that you were equipped to handle those situations, because storms will come regardless. I haven't seen any marriage, even with a perfect chemistry. It may not be the two of us. It could be an illness. It could be, some crazy thing. It could be pandemic, right? For others too. So anything external. So as a couple, we need to be equipped for that.
And the nice thing about this marriage prep is that it's not preachy, right? It does not. It doesn't give. It's more of a sharing, right? It's two couples, it's two people, a couple, sharing their real life challenges on money. And so from there, right, they get an idea on, okay, even the happiest couples we see, they're not perfect. They go through challenges as well, just like you and
me. Yeah. And you notice I was fidgeting with my phone because our time just flew away. It's been long gone. It's been long gone, but I kept quiet because I was enjoying the conversation. But here's the thing. I want to kind of put you guys on the spot just for a minute. Is an idea, just as you were speaking, an idea to hold like an in-person workshop for married people here in, you're in Edmonton. So here in Edmonton, we can think about that. So just a thought. What do you think?
Yeah. And that's our passion, right? I think there's many people who are more equipped to deliver it, but I think for us, from our own experience, probably we can share something. And I think that's our passion, right? So we got to a stage that I think the more we share, it makes us vulnerable though, right? But
yes, of course,
it helps people be better. And I think that's what we teach our kids too, right? Be the best version of yourself, right? If you're at level A, you can go to level B, or if you're in levels, D already and you want to go higher, then you can. And that's what our, in fact, in our, one of the sayings or phrases that we're passionate about and the kids memorize it is that, when you're good, I think it's from Saint Jerome, good to become better,
Good, better, best.
Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is
and your better best. Yeah, I've heard that. That's a cool one.
So baby
never
steps.
let it rest.
Baby steps, Dr. Rose. I mean, like we said, we're already doing things that are out of our comfort zone, but who knows, right? We're always open to new
and we'll do a
adventures.
part 2. Okay, so because I know it's a big topic that we have, but we appreciate it, Dr. Rose, that you provide a platform. We're not big into social media or YouTube, but the fact that the channel will, we can provide those content maybe that will hopefully reach out to your listeners and viewers that can also improve. If there's just one person whose lives will be improved with our discussion right now, I think that's a
Yes.
big deal, very big deal for us.
Yes. So you're not on social media right now. So you and I, we can go talk offline. We need to get you a social media presence. You have so much, you have so much to give, especially like I'm passionate about couples because the divorce rate is so high and a lot of it is preventable. And so if people can even just address the Department of Money, I think that we can save more marriages. We can save some marriages, right? So I know that you have a lot to offer the world, and so let's do it.
Okay.
And like Christina said, baby steps. I know.
Yes.
I can easily get carried away with big ideas, but yeah. Thank you so much, Glen and Christina. You guys just have an amazing family. Amazing what you're doing with the children. Amazing what you're doing, with helping couples with preparing for marriage, and just you guys are amazing. Just I love the chemistry. Once again, I love you guys, and keep it up. Keep up the good work. And any last words before we wrap it up?
So for me, I would just like to thank you, Dr. Rose, because one of the things I realized in this business, you come across many great people, right? But you in particular, because your story is very powerful. I wish, and I bring it up almost every week, right? That for you, right? Raising 5 kids, right? After that challenging time. And I tell people about, getting into difficult situations, right? And I remember it completely when you said that, Glen, losing the person you love, right, your husband, is devastating enough, but digging yourself into that hole, looking at your kids, is far more painful. And I applaud you for making it happen, getting out of it. Last week or this week, one of our good friend now, good client, single mom from Africa, took possession of her first home in Canada, and she was just blown away. He said, and it was a conversation we just had. We're active in our parent council for the kids because that's our passion, right? So we're very much in school. So we met her through there. We had lunch, and then from there we poured the belief that you can make it happen. And she did. And she said, Glen, I thank you. I said, don't give me the credit. God is still the source of all the gifts. And that's why
Give
for
God
me,
the glory. Yes.
And one prayer that I remember, and we pray it. So when I drop off the kids, this is one of our prayer, is a prayer of generosity. So it was from Saint Ignatius, right? So, dearest Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as you serve, to give and not to count the cost, to give and not to find the wounds,
To fight
to
and
not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and ask not for reward. Save that of knowing that I'm doing this for your most holy will. Amen. So for me, knowing
Wow. Okay. That's
the
I
greater
don't know
glory
that
of
one.
God.
I'll learn it. I knew the first one you did, the Saint Jerome one. I knew that, but this one is new to me, so I will learn that one.
Yes.
Saint Ignatius, you said.
Saint Ignatius. So ad majorem Dei gloriam, all for the glory of God. So that's Latin for it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And
Dr.
Christina,
Rose.
the last word from our family. I begin, you end.
Christina, you get the last say.
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Rose, for sharing our story. We feel like we're not really doing something extraordinary, but because of your belief in us, right, we're starting to believe that maybe we're some we're special.
No, we are special. It's just
Yes,
that
you are.
you see more things, right? So I think being a child of God, you have that value already, right, and belief. But we don't see furthermore. Like for example, this kind of education, we have our own circle too, right? But maybe there's furthermore, and I think that could be one area that you said that maybe we can have some session that allows us to touch more people. And instead of one, probably we can change an entire city like Edmonton.
You can change the world, Glen.
Well, just like you're doing, Dr. Rose.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's do it together. Let's do it together.
That's good.
And once again, I know that the kids are waiting for us to finish. I know they're somewhere around there. So, but thank you so much for your time, both of you, and God bless you. So to my listeners out there, please watch out for more from Glen and Cristina. It's coming. Thank you once again.
Okay.
God bless
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.